Welcome back to the Faith and Work Hour. Yours truly, Anthony Knight. We're going to get into three topics today. But before I do, I want to go ahead and do the inspirational reading. And it goes as such. Learn to see people for what they are, not for what you want them to be. See, a lot of times we deal with people because we are trying to make them be who we want them to be. Just believe them to be who they are. Just see them to be who they are. And that'll sometimes save us a lot of trouble and headache. But we're gonna dive right into this. And once again, police are involved, and I'm really tired of having to talk about this, but it's an ongoing problem. And like I say, all police are not bad. It's just that certain percentage who seem to go out of their way to try to be a bully or to portray to be something they're not, or just because they wearing the badge now they can bully you and do all kind of such and such things. You know, it's just foolishness. And once again, we're gonna dive right into Mississippi because for some reason it seems that Mississippi seems to be one place that these police are cutting up at. I got this story out of Smart News. The topic is Mississippi officer out of a job after a 10-year-old child is detained for urinating in public. Now I read this story and I followed it very closely when it was going on. And basically what happened was a 10-year-old, the family of the 10-year-old visited a lawyer. And evidently they didn't have a bathroom. So the 10-year-old went behind his mother's car and relieved himself. Now, ironic, a police was there. Seems like they always there in Mississippi for the wrong reason, but when that's something that they need to be doing that's legit, they don't seem to ever be there. Now, that's just what it seems to be to me. And this particular police officer, they said detained, but he arrested this 10-year-old child for urinating behind the back of the car. And nobody's saying what he did was right. But even the chief of police said, you shouldn't have done that. That's just some things that you do not do, and he knew better than that. But once again, this is an opportunity for this police to strike fear into a young African American's mind, to make them think that every time they see him, that they would be arrested for some of the most minor things. And this is once again, this is an ongoing thing in Mississippi. I don't know what it is in Mississippi that these polices over there, and it was white police, that think they have the right to treat citizens that way, and I just don't understand it. And even the mother said she's not condoning what he did, but if he had to use the bathroom and he went behind the car, you could have talked to him. You know, hey, you shouldn't do that, this and that. But to detain him, put him in the back of your police car, what could that possibly have proven? Or what was your purpose to that? I don't really get where you were going. What were you trying to do? What were you trying to accomplish? Were you trying to put fear into this young man? Because that's probably what you wind up doing. That it's just so funny that every time we deal with these situations, it's a police that is in Mississippi. It's just somehow in Mississippi, we have more trouble with police in Mississippi than anything else. And that is the most disturbing part, because your job is to uphold the law, protect those that cannot protect themselves, not to be a bully because you have a badge. And to me, That's what you are. You're a bully because you have a badge, so you want to play bully. You want to intimidate. And it says, and the article reads, a police officer who took part in the arrest and jailing of a 10-year-old child who urinated in a parking lot is no longer employed. Now that's the best thing, that's the best news I've heard from the point that they fired him. Because there's no place in that precinct for police that corrupt to go to these degrees for something so minor. But once again, this is Mississippi. We done had a lot of trouble out of these Mississippi police officers lately. And I'm gonna read a little bit of what the chief of police said in a few minutes. It says, we appreciate the public patience while we investigate this incident. We deeply value your trust and support, and we are dedicated to continually improving and learning from our mistakes. Well, how many more mistakes can you make? Honestly, you're running out of things, you're running out of apologies at this point. Because now, if you keep apologizing for these corrupt polices, your apologies become watered down. Then nobody's really taking your apology serious. And that's what it's going to go to at some point if you do not put these polices in their place. You know, what kind of training? I don't know the training that a police go through. But I don't think it was that difficult to go and talk to the 10-year-old child instead of arresting them and jailing him. I think you could have done something better than that. And he said the child mother told a news outlet that her son urinated behind the vehicle while she was visiting a lawyer office on August the 10th, and the officer then put him in a squad car and took him to the police station. Really? This is you should have been fired. As soon as you walked in, you should have been fired on the spot. No ifs, ands, buts about it. This was not a heinous crime. This was not a vicious crime. This was unnecessary. You know, I sometimes I just don't believe these stories I read. I just don't believe it. But I kind of like what the chief said. He said that the officer is no longer with us. We would not conduct ourselves in this manner. And thank you. Because you do not need police on your force that are engaged in this kind of behavior. He didn't break a crime. Okay, you say public urination, using the bathroom in public, okay. But there's another way you could have handled that. Instead of locking them up, putting them in the back of your car and locking them up. And then they try to solve it, but they didn't put handcuffs on them. Okay, and what's you still took him to jail. Handcuffs or not, you still took him to jail. So that was stupid in itself. And I think they just need to really look deep into some of these police they hiring. Go to their social media pages. See how they talk, because a lot of these polices, and it's white polices. Let's just be frank. It's more or less white polices that doing some of this. And hey, we done had our fair share of black polices doing stupid mess like the incident in Memphis. So we just can't say it was all white, but it's more that every time I turn around, it's something insignificant that they're harassing people about. And I just think you have more important things to do, in my mind, than to take a 10-year-old child who just urinated behind his mom's car to jail. I just really think that was something else you could have done. That was a better way you could have handled it. That was an alternative you could have used. But you chose to use this way because this tells me how you are. You chose to do this for a specific reason, and you should never be allowed to be a police. I don't care if it's in the next county or whatever. You should never ever allowed to be put another uniform on. Not for us, police. I wouldn't hire you to be a dog catcher at this point. If this is the best you can do, kind of tell me a lot about you. Tell me about your stupidity. Tell me about your feeble-mindedness. It just tells me a whole lot about you. And also tells me you have no business being in the work line of a police. because you don't have the mindset for that. And you can tell me, well, he wasn't handcuffed. Handcuffed or not, he went to the same place that people are handcuffed go. So I don't really see how that's no silver lining. You know, I just don't. And you couldn't have been no dumber than you did. Yeah, you just couldn't have been any stupider. It just, like I said, it tells me a lot about you, about your mindset, how you are, and how you treat. If you don't have no decency for a 10-year-old, I know you don't have any for me. It's not even, ain't no telling what kind of consequences you would have somebody that older. And like I said, his mother said she don't condone what he did, but to go through those measures, treating him like a criminal, putting him in the back of your squad car, taking him to jail to book him, a 10-year-old. Okay, so that's what we do with 10-year-olds now. We just lock them up now at this point for doing pretty much nothing. And you know, you always gonna have those try to justify with the police. Well, he was doing his job. No, he wasn't. He was being special. He was trying to prove a point. You know, he was trying to strike fear in that 10-year-old mind. And that's the only thing he was doing. He had no reason to put him in the back of his car and take him to jail. He had no reason to do that. That's special. He did that. It's special. Now, well, you know what? Every week we get in here, we got police that's doing corrupt stuff. We always hear about the bad stuff that police do. Well, I got an article in front of me that tells something that shine a bright light on more or less a good deed that a police do. And when I read this, I'm like, okay, let's talk about some of the good stuff that the police do. Because we get, and I know they get a bad rap because of a few bad eggs, and then they'll talk about them, and it'll overshadow the good ones who are actually in the community doing something good. And this is a white cop here. It said, cop raised money to buy PlayStation 5 for boy who offered to do gardening for residents. It says, in a heartwarming gesture, a police officer in the United States surprised a teenager by gifting him a PlayStation 5 after some residents called the police because the boy was going around a neighborhood asking if he could help with gardening to earn pocket money. You know the thing, so you called the police because he walked around. He was going around the neighborhood asking to do work for money, and you called the police. Okay, maybe that's some logic somewhere in there. And then it says, Twitter page Perfect Day posted a video of the police and surprising the boy with a PlayStation 5. The boy reportedly went to an Atlanta suburb in Hateville, Georgia, and offered to help with gardening to earn pocket money to buy a PS5. However, some residents allegedly got scared and called the police. Well, that answers my next question. Why would you call the police? So you called the police on a young black guy, young black teenager, who offered to do work, and that scared you. When the police officer learned the reason, he understood the boy's motive, and he was also a big gaming fan. So the officer raised money for the PS5 and met the boy and bought it from him. The clip showed the policeman opening his car boot and showing the boy what he bought for him. The boy is surprised to see the gift and quickly hugged the officer. See, we need more police like this. Just a young black man that was young black teenagers looking to do work, and there was a white officer who came, recognized what he was trying to do, and helped. We need more officers like these. We need more officers who put the community first and helping people first instead of hurting them. We need more officers who are compassionate and understanding. Those are the police officers we need. We don't need all these corrupt ones that use the badge as basically a battering ram to give you an authorization to do what you want. You know, I joke around this with a lot of friends of mine, and we say some of these polices, whether it's black or white, I really don't care. You became polices so you can bully people. That was the only reason you did it. You only did it, I don't know if you had a rough childhood and this is your way to get revenge, but if this is your motive to become a police officer, you need to get away from that line of work, because that is not the reason you should become a police officer. You become a police officer to protect and serve the community, not to bully the community. You do not do that. And if that's what your motives were, that's foolish, hypocritical, and it shows what kind of hypocrite you are. We need more stories like this to read about cops that actually are in the community doing good deeds. And it ain't always about giving anything. There has been plenty of cops, whether it be black or white, being called out there with kids playing basketball. Not only did they not harass them, they joined in on the game. That's how you bring the community together. That's how you bring police and the black community in unity, is because when you join them, instead of harassing them, you play with them. Instead of talking down on them, you talk with them. Instead of you being, for them to be scared of you, you fellowship with them. And these are the stories that I would love more to talk about than these other hypocrites or these other so-called polices that are not polices. They are bullies that hide behind the badge. He said it's sweet but doesn't address the fundamental issues as to why adults had to call the cops on a boy who was likely doing what kids have done for hundreds of years for a couple of bucks in their pocket. Because these are white neighbors that for some reason think a cop ain't got nothing else better to do but to come and arrest somebody who's looking for work. I would love to know the mindset of these neighbors who called this police on a young man who was looking to do work. He wasn't begging for money. He wasn't looking for a handout. He was looking to work. And it's just mind-boggling that some people still got that in their mind, that that's their only course of action, to call the cops. You know, this story tells more about you than it does about him. And you know what? They never release names. I can understand that. Because they release names that'll show what kind of hypocrite and bigot you are. And then one person said, I would love for him to knock on my door and pull weeds for me. A user said, this is how we should be with each other, said another. This is lovely. Thanks for sharing. Neighborhoods should also have a little look in the mirror. I would kindly suggest, another person wrote, a go-getter kid. I admire him. What the policeman did makes this a better world. And that is 100% true. This could have turned out bad, and we don't seen it. If white people call police on a black teenager, and they come up there, the wrong police come up there, and we seen this turn bad very quickly. I'm glad this situation didn't. I'm glad they found an understanding police officer. I'm gonna say this one more time. You are not born racist. It's something that was taught to you. You fear a black teenager who's running around in the neighborhood looking for work. This is who you fear? Well, if you feared him, you might as well stay in your house from this point on, never even go out. If that's who you fear. I don't know if I want a neighbor like that. You want me to know the truth? I don't know if I want a neighbor who would do something and that conniving. And not only one, they said multiple neighbors called police. So that lets me know it's in a predominantly white neighborhood. And y'all fear a teenager who's looking for work. Y'all are pitiful. I'm just glad I'm glad this police officer was understanding, showed compassion, and understood the situation and handled it as police should handle. Instead of listening to y'all foolishness. How do you even make that call? Hello, I got a black teenager looking for work. You know how stupid you sound? This only in Atlanta. That's all I can say on Atlanta. Well, we're gonna get into another good feel story. A young man named, and this is a topic that I love to talk about. I'm probably gonna butcher his name. Raymond Williford, the black teen genius whose IQ tops Bill Gates and Einstein. This dude has an IQ score of 162. He's a top American business men. Bill Gates' IQ score was 160, and Einstein was an estimated 160 also. So this guy has an IQ over Einstein and Bill Gates. And it says the British teenager, Mr. Williford, who studies at a comprehensive school in East London, has now been dubbed a genius and the smartest boy in England capital after he assessed his IQ test. The young genius has always shown exceptional brilliance, even as a child, reports the University Herald. In preschool, Wilford was able to read and write, and at 10, he wrote a justice theory paper that won him prestigious honors. It's that excellency that caught the attention of NENASA, a high school IQ society that welcomes people from every walk of life whose IQ is in the top 2% of the population, with the objective of enjoying each other's company and participating in a wide range of social and cultural activities. Said, I always remember driving him to the nursery and he was telling me about something he'd seen on the news, and it was very political. It was a very political subject. His mom, Anitha Williford, told BBC, later on that afternoon, I saw the optic on the TV and I thought, my 2.5-year-old has just been talking to me about this in the car. It was just bizarre. This teenager is exceptional. If I'm not mistaken, he's only 16 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And this, at 16, he studied at East London schoolboy. He was an East London schoolboy at 16 with an IQ of 162. That is phenomenal. That is outstanding. These are the kind of things that in the news that need to be talked about more, that is not talked about. Because the negative stuff is so much easier and so much convenient to talk about. So we look over stuff that really has a positive turn and a positive twist to it. And this young man at 16 needs to be glorified, to be an African American that doesn't get a lot of credit. He doesn't get a lot. This story hasn't got a lot of hype. You know why? Because to some people this is not important, and it's no big deal. But this guy, in my opinion, is phenomenal, and we need to talk about him, and we need to talk about those who are like him, regardless of color or race. We need to talk about more stories about this, that when we get young people that are very smart, that are doing great things, we kind of look over that because we got all that negativity over here that's more enticing for us to talk about. Well, we don't do that as a group. You know, our nonprofit, Let's Talk 3, we thrive on positivity and highlighting young teenagers, young people, young African American, young white people who doing something great in the community that's positive. We are going to highlight that because that needs to be talked about more than that fool that just robbed the store or the police that just shot somebody for no reason, or this racist person who has something negative say, which you see that on TV, what they call them Karens and Ken, that's doing stupid foolishness. What bothers me is these stories here get overlooked for those buffoons that's out there causing havoc. It shouldn't be like that. We should uplift positivity. We should be thrilled and excited that this young man has excelled even above and beyond what I'm sure his parents even thought. But he's done that. And we are going to show him all the gratitude we can show him. And I would love for more people to talk about this story than those other stories. And I know what to say. The negative and the bad makes news. Okay? Good can make news also. And this should make news because this young man is an elite. And there have been more African Americans who've done even, I'm not saying at his level, but they have done things equal or even more, just as impressive as this young man do it. But it's like I say, it's not highlighted because it's not thrilling. It's not negative. It's not explosive if they call it. But we think it is. And we're going to keep promoting it as a group because that's how we do it. And that's how we're going to always do it. And that's how we're going to continue doing it. Because we know a negative holds 6 times more weight than a positive. But we can flip that. We can make a positive hold 6 times more weight than a negative with more stories like this. They don't put these in the big articles. They don't put it on the front page. You got to go and look for these. But you don't have to look for foolishness. You don't have to look for stories that don't benefit me. You know what bothers me and what tickles me? It bothers me and tickles me at the same time. Why would you want to hear about a negative story that there's no way it can impact you whatsoever? But a positive story where you can uplift young kids that don't pull any weight. They're not interested in that. It's not juicy enough. It's not showing nobody being degraded, humiliated, marginalized, minimized. Unfortunately, that's how this today's society works. But we don't want to uplift and congratulate those who went above and beyond to do something exceptional. But we want to give all our attention to somebody who's doing something negative. And we're going to give all our attention to those who do things that degrades themselves and degrades us as a community and it makes us look bad. So how about we find these positive articles, positive stories, and let's highlight them. Let's show them, hey man, we support you. We are with you. I'm proud of you. I don't have to know you to be proud of you. But I know what you accomplished something not many has done. Even the geniuses, what they say in Bill Gates and Einstein, your IQ is above them. And that's something to be marveled. And that's something to be praised. And that's something to be highlighted. And guess what? Let's Talk 3 will do. We will do just that. We will highlight it. And we're going to keep highlighting it. Every news article is not bad. And we're not going to talk about just the bad ones. We're going to talk about them all. Especially the positive one. Because right now, in these day and time, you need all the positive energy you can get. And you need all the positive news you can get also. And that's what we do. Well, once again, this was a quick 30 minutes. It always is. I enjoyed my time here. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. Hopefully my co-host will be back then. And I enjoyed you. Everybody have a brilliant, great day. Hey, stay out of the sun. It's hot out there now. But enjoy yourself. Live life to the fullest. Always wear a smile because a smile looks better than a frown, obviously. And we'll see you next week. Two fingers, peace, Have a great day.